I met today's guest in a very specific situation. I was 19 years old, it was my first hitchhiking trip ever, and as you can expect, I was doing a lot of beginner mistakes. I remember that day, I was stuck on a petrol station for 2 hours, asking everyone for a ride and not getting any positive answer. And then I saw this guy arriving and instantly getting a ride. What I did is that I kind of sneaked into the ride. By chance, they had a free seat for me. The drivers and the other hitchhiker were okay to have me among them. Then I could spend, I think I just spent 1 hour discussing with Nils, the other hitchhiker, on the back seat. He really saved my day this day. I mean, I was really lost. We kept in touch actually, and 6 years later, we meet again, and today he's going to share with you his story as a hitchhiker, his advice, so be ready for Nils.
My name is Nils. I'm a French hitchhiker and illustrator. I was born in Paris, but it's been like 10 years around now that I don't have a specific home anymore. So I'm mostly traveling, less and less traveling, though now I'm renting, more and more renting places for like 2-3 months. But I travel a lot hitchhiking, and I still travel a lot. For the 5 years, it was constant travel, and now it's a bit less. But on the side, I'm also an illustrator, freelance illustrator, and I do a digital comic book. So I have my computer with me, and I can draw and travel at the same time.
That's pretty cool. So you can really work wherever in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
And well, from what you just said, it seems that you have an incredible background as a traveler. How was it? Did you always have this culture of traveling while growing up, or did it come later in your life?
No, I had it. My parents, both my parents, they are very they travel a lot. My mother used to work for an aviation company, an airline. So I've got a superpower since my birth, is that I've got free plane tickets. So with my mom, we used to go to travel internationally. She used to hitchhike as well. She crossed the whole US hitchhiking herself. And my father is a deep mountain lover, so he hitchhikes also, even at his age now, sometimes, like 60 years old. And so yeah, with my father, I would go mostly in France, but camping, that kind of style of traveling. And with my mother, more in the international style, but sort of low cost still, because no money for the plane tickets and no money either when we are in the location. So it was always a bit of like hitchhiking in family, sort of. We wouldn't hitchhike, but there was this vibe.
Okay, so with your father it was really the wild part, and with your mother the worldwide.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sort of wild also.
Yeah, well, from what I hear, it
Yeah.
definitely seems like it's this way. And so you traveled with them a lot of time in your youth.
Yeah.
But at some point you did your first trip alone, I guess.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
When, how old were
No,
you?
I still travel with my parents. For 10 years, they have been with me now.
Yeah, they are with us.
They are watching me now.
Okay, but so your first trip, like, how old were you, and what was it?
So I was 16, I was in high school with a friend of mine, and it was the summer holiday. We had nothing to do, we were quite bored in a Paris suburb. And we had friends that went to the very infamous, I don't know if the people watching it will know, but the Bayonne ferias, which are quite famous in France, not for all the right reasons, but and we had friends that were going there, so we were like, okay, let's do something with our summer. And I knew my parents, they did hitchhike, I knew that we could do that. So I was like, okay, we have no money, we were gonna go there hitchhiking, it's summer, we're gonna sleep outside, we're gonna find something. And so we did, and it was actually a very, like, looking back on it, it was a very successful trip, because Bayonne from Paris is not very close. It's like, I don't know, maybe
9 hours.
Like, yeah, something like this. And we arrived there at 8 p.m., which was really good, but also we were 16. So I think the people that were like, you know, like, oh, those kids, what are they doing on the road, you know? And we're doing complete nonsense. We had no skill whatsoever in hitchhiking. So we were in all the wrong places. So yeah, a lot of people took us very easily, I think, and so it was quite easy.
Okay. And how did you get out of Paris this time? Do you remember?
So I checked online on Google Maps, which was the beginning of Google Maps, sort of.
Yeah.
I feel old saying all of that. But yeah, it was in 2008, I would assume, something like
Okay,
this.
yeah.
And so I checked online where was an entrance of the highway that was not inside Paris, because I sort of had the intuition that going outside of Paris from Paris would be too complicated and that I would rather be closer to the exit. So I went to Palaiseau, which was actually a very smart move for a first time, because the right place to go is just next to this place.
Yeah.
It's Massy
Massy
Palaiseau.
Palaiseau, yeah.
And so we went to Palaiseau. In Palaiseau, we did some crazy, weird, trying to find the entrance thing, but we ended up finding our first car, going to the also infamous Péage de Saint-Arnoux, and going.
From there, yeah.
Yeah,
it can be
and we
pretty
had
fast.
almost no problem. It was very easy. So I think my introduction to hitchhiking was actually quite good, and it made me be like, okay, that's a possibility. I can certainly do that.
Yeah. And I guess that, well, at this time you were 16, so still maybe a bit young to do big distances, but I guess it came, international trips, hitchhiking, but I guess it came pretty fast after, right?
Yeah, definitely. The first international trip was going to London. We were six people.
Wow.
Yeah. So we dispatched in groups of 3. So it wasn't the second trip, because I also did other trips in France, but it was the second trip, the first trip internationally. And so we dispatched in groups, but going out of Paris this time, we took the wrong road to go to London. So it was very complicated, and we arrived only the next day, because also there was a ferry in between. So it was a bit of a hassle to cross the ferry. We did manage to find a car going inside the ferry that took us on the other side, but it was also an amazing travel. We found a squat to host us in the middle of London.
Wow.
Holborn, for people who know it. So it was like, we stayed 2 weeks. It's like, thinking back of it, staying 2 weeks, a group of 6 people with no money in London, which is one of the most expensive cities in Europe. I was like, what the fuck? And I learned there how to dumpster dive. So even the food was free, so we were like, okay. So yeah, it was a very good trip, but it was maybe in 2010, I think, something like this.
So you were 18, something like this.
Yeah,
Okay.
18, 19, something like this. Yeah.
I'd like to come back on the, about the ferry, because, do you know, have you done it again since then?
Yes.
And since the Brexit, did you do it?
No, I didn't do it since the Brexit. Also, I didn't do it. I stopped doing it. So at one point, I was going I went a lot of times to London. It was sort of, we had friends there, and they had squats there, so it was very easy. We would be in a party the Saturday and be like, hey, let's go there on Monday. Okay, and we would go. So it was very easy to go. I stopped going there, and it was before the Syrian crisis.
Okay.
So I haven't done it again since the Syrian crisis, which I would assume would be the most the thing complicating the travel. But I also assume that it might be the same thing, because I'm white, and we are doing it in a way that people are. I think it would be fine still nowadays.
Yeah, because the boat still works the same way.
Yes.
And I guess that you have the active approach, you go talk to the people.
Yes, and also we go to the people, we explain, and I don't see why it would change. We would find our people on the gas station before the ferry. So there won't be any danger or whatever, or you wouldn't see a lot of,
Maybe now would you just have some passport check and...
Yeah, you had that already.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like you had to have an identity card, I think. I had my passport with me all the time, so for me, I don't think it would change much.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I never tried it, so I'm like, hey, maybe it could be a weekend trip to London
I think
someday.
it's the easiest ferry, because I've also hitchhiked another ferry from Italy to Greece, and it was much more complicated. It's not as straightforward. Like, the good thing with the English ferry is that the people, they pay by car, So they have up to 9 people inside the car. So if you add one person, it doesn't change anything for them. So it's really like hitchhiking. Whereas some other ferry, you can do it, but it's always more tricky. Like you have to find maybe a truck that goes inside the ferry and that has an extra ticket, because sometimes the trucker, they travel with their wife or significant other or whatever. And so they have the boss gives them an extra ticket just in case. But most of them, they don't have an extra ticket because it costs extra money. So
Yeah.
you have to find that, and it's more tricky.
Yeah. And so you talked about the ferry from Italy to Greece.
Yeah.
From which city to which city is it?
It was from Brindisi
Okay.
to Patras, I think.
Okay. I mean,
Igoumenitsa? I think it's Igoumenitsa.
well, I trust you.
I don't
You're
trust
the one
myself.
who knows.
But it's the main road. It's the main route.
This is pretty impressive because I didn't do a lot of boat hitchhiking, and it's always an extra adventure, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. And but you told me also that, well, after Italy, Greece, and well, the UK, of course, you went to Japan, right?
Yeah.
It was like your first very
Very long trip, yeah,
intercontinental
yeah.
trip.
It's funny because at the beginning we wanted to only go to the Baikal Lake in Russia, and then we're like, oh, but there is Mongolia next to it. We should visit Mongolia. And then there was China next to it. So like, oh, let's go to China. And then, oh, Korea. Oh, but we're in Korea. We can go to Japan then. So it was really like we would extend the thing. Unfortunately, it was not very, but quite short. It was during a summer holiday. So it was 2 months and a half only. But yeah, we hitchhiked to Moscow. We were 4 people at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so 2 groups. We hitchhiked all the way to Moscow. We took a Trans-Siberian there, and then we hitchhiked from the Baikal Lake to Beijing.
Okay.
And then we took ferries to go to Korea and then to Japan.
Okay. And how was, yeah, so you hitchhiked again the ferry to go to Japan? No, not this time.
Paying the ferry.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to do some compromise.
Yeah.
And did you have any big struggle on this trip? I mean, it was a lot of improv, and you have, I guess, you had a lot of surprises.
On this first trip, on this
On
this
trip,
trip,
yeah, to Japan.
it was all right. Not so big surprise. Maybe we had some struggles, obviously. In Poland, I remember that it took us way more time than we thought. It took us 3 days to go from Warsaw to St. Petersburg. It's a long distance, but 3 days is a lot. It's really a lot. I think, yeah, nowadays, because I'm much more. Also, when we were hitchhiking back then, we had no cell phone, no map.
Okay.
Yeah, all my first, up until 2015, I had no cell phone, and I would take pictures of Google Maps. So I couldn't like zoom or whatever like this, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So it was really like sort of the hardcore way.
Okay. I'm curious to hear more about this
Okay.
because I mean, I always had Google Maps during my trips, and I feel like I'm always cheating a bit. So, how did you manage to really have? I mean, even no cell phone, it's complicated to communicate with the people you meet.
Yeah, it was really like how do you say, like we managed. Yeah, you always manage. You know what I mean? You always manage. To find the itinerary, we would plan a lot. We would plan ahead. So we would really like write it down on a paper.
Yeah.
And we would write down some translations, maybe a basic sentence. We had I remember, for example, in China, we had this. Someone saw us writing Chinese characters.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, we can't read that. And she was speaking English, and she was like, I'm gonna make you the sign. So we had a full thing in Chinese, and we had a full thing in Polish, and we had like all the things. Also, now I remember I know how to say next gas station in lots of languages. But yeah, and to communicate, I think it's always a matter of goodwill rather than technology or anything, you know. When the people, they want to communicate with you, yeah, you can communicate.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So every new border you crossed was also a new language to learn.
Yeah. It was mostly like hands and the names of the cities, and yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. For the curiosity, how many languages do you speak right now?
I speak fluently English and French. I'm all right in Spanish, and I'm learning Russian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then next petrol station in maybe 20 languages.
Yeah, some languages, yeah, Japanese, Polish, German, Italian, all of those. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know how to say that in all of those.
Good words. I mean, it's pretty useful when you hitchhike
is,
to know at
definitely.
least this.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, you did this this big trip to Japan, and how was hitchhiking in Japan? Did you try it there?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I went 5 times in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm quite familiar now with this country, and I've hitchhiked all over it. Not all over, but in many places in Japan. I think it's a good country to hitchhike because it's the shape of it. It's a big banana, sort of.
Yeah.
So there is like one main highway
Yeah.
with a lot of people, and if
Okay.
you go to get the gas station, they are like enormous with a lot of people, and so it's very easy to find people going there, like going your way. So it's very easy to hitchhike north to south on this very main road, you know. If you go a bit, like let's say on the other shore compared to Tokyo, like Tokyo would be the east shore, the east coast, and
Yeah.
there is the west coast that is way less populated. It's more complicated, but it's still doable. Japanese people are very nice in general.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't put your thumb. I don't know if
Yeah, you can see
you
it.
should avoid putting your thumb up because they have no clue what it is.
Okay.
But
What do you
maybe
do?
some of them will, but most not really.
Okay.
But if you manage to find a way to ask them, like gas station, parkings, traffic lights, then you will get your way.
Then passive hitchhiking wouldn't work at all in Japan, but you must go talk to the people.
Thing is, I mostly don't do passive hitchhiking.
Yeah.
So I have not tried it in Japan at all. But I don't think it would work so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most countries, even the countries that are deemed hard to hitchhike, it's mostly when you do passive hitchhiking
Yeah.
that it's hard.
I agree. I mean, from my experience with Italy,
Yeah,
I did learn Italian while traveling, and yeah, when I go to Italy, I do it always with the active way, and I never had any problem for crossing the whole country. I mean, once I did from Napoli to Torino in just one day, so it's like all the country. And but I know that people, who do it with the thumb, they are yeah. And if they don't speak Italian, they also might struggle. But
I don't speak Italian.
yeah,
but
and you managed to do it.
very easily.
Yeah.
And even 3 people.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
Yeah, so I guess it also depends on some experiences. And you went on the petrol station, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we can switch maybe to the subject of best and worst countries, because I know that Italy has this reputation of being a hard country, but I think that it's not in our bad countries.
No.
What would be your, I don't know, top 3 of the worst
Top 3
countries?
Of the worst countries. Okay. Top 3. I'd say. Okay, everyone says Spain, so I will skip this one. It's not so good because people are they don't like hitchhikers, but it's all right because there are big highways, petrol station, so it's fine. Great Britain, the UK, at least, no, England I would say. I don't know about Scotland. I think Scotland and Ireland might be better, but England, people are shit. Let's say it right away. They are very afraid. There is this thing in England where there is always like signs saying, don't text because you will get raped, or don't do this because you will get murdered, or you know, and they are a bit like, they are frightened.
Paranoid a bit.
Yes. So you can hitchhike on the petrol station just like everywhere, but the more passive way is also very, in my experience, I did it once and it was really bad. Another country, like the second would be the USA. People are not that friendly as we would think. It's not like this sort of hitchhiking paradise. They're also a bit paranoid. And the way their highways are made is that the petrol stations are not on the highway. They are outside the highway. And so when you are on the petrol station, the people can go pretty much anywhere. And the people from the petrol station, they very often don't want you to be in the petrol station because they would call the cops. Okay. And it's also a lot of time illegal to solicit a ride.
Okay.
So it makes it quite annoying. Doable for sure. I went from Detroit to Los Angeles hitchhiking, and it was I really loved that trip. It was really nice. The views are amazing. It's very scenic. But I would say it's a hard country to hitchhike. But then again, I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't have all of this. So
Yeah.
it was making it more hard.
But would you say that it changed from a state to another, the practice of hitchhiking?
Not so much.
Yeah.
No, the highways are always a bit the same.
Okay.
So I didn't feel a very strong difference. I assume someone that is more familiar with the country would see more the difference, but it's subtle enough so that I didn't see it. And the worst country for hitchhiking, I told you earlier.
Yeah, you told me.
It's Cuba. I recently went to Cuba, and I think that Cuba had all the bad points of the country. In general, I divide the countries between two different categories. The rich countries where people are not that nice and kind of paranoid, but at least there is a big highway system with petrol station. And the countries where there is no highway and no petrol, well, there is petrol, but there is no petrol station. It's less convenient in that sense, but the people are less paranoid. So I don't know, like places like Iran, for example, the highways are complicated, but the people are very nice.
Yeah.
In France, people are maybe less hospitable and everything like this, but the highways are very nice, so it's very easy.
Yeah.
Cuba has nothing of that.
Okay.
Cuba, there is, well, it's not their fault, I would say, but there is a big embargo, so there are almost no cars, no petrol, so the highways are almost empty. There is no one, you could find a dog or a bicycle on the highway.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's so empty. And
Okay.
you can just like, you can be in the middle and dance, and you won't see a car before like 5 minutes or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, this is for the highway, but most of the roads, like the side roads, there is even less people, which is like almost no one. Also, there are lots of rules. So usually in the countries where the highways are sort of loose like this, there are almost no rules. You can go in the back of pickups or that kind of things. In Cuba, for example, if you don't have a helmet, you can't go inside on a bicycle. So the people with the bicycle, they won't, not the bicycle, the motorbike, they won't take you because you don't have a helmet. And it's extremely hot. Like there is lots of sun, so you have to walk a lot under big sun. And sometimes suddenly, at least when I was there, there is like pouring rain where you end up soaked. And yeah, it's a complicated country. I really found it really complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand why. It sounds like Spain, but worse.
Yes.
And with rain.
Yeah.
I mean, with more extreme weather.
Yeah. And the people are not particularly nice.
Yeah.
They're quite depressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because with what you said, like the four worst countries, if we include Spain, you have like a bit Anglo-Saxon culture and Hispanic culture.
Yes,
do you think there is a link or?
The Anglo-Saxon, I would say so, because they
Yeah.
tend to be more, because they are very individualistic, they tend
Yeah.
to be more paranoid, I feel.
Yeah.
But not the Anglo-Saxon, really the British, because the Germans are not like this.
Yeah, true. And I mean, if you say only the English and not the Scottish and the Irish.
But also the Americans, so yeah.
Yeah. So.
But maybe I don't know, imperialistic Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to investigate to hitchhike more in those countries.
And I don't think it's the Spanish thing, because the way hitchhiking is bad in Spain is not the same as Cuba at all.
Yeah.
I would say, and the other countries that have Spanish culture, they are not that bad.
So you hitchhiked a lot in South America too, right?
Also, yeah.
So I mean, you should talk about it because I think we are doing a world tour with you. We should keep doing the world tour and go now to South America.
Okay.
How is it back there?
The thing is, I didn't do like one big trip in South America. I did several little trips. So in Colombia, in Brazil, but always like going there, doing a little tour there, and then going away.
Yeah.
How was it hitchhiking? I don't know. There is this paranoia there that is really like, people are so afraid. So they will tell you like, oh no, you shouldn't. I went also in Central America, in El Salvador, in Guatemala. And yeah, people, they are always constantly telling you that you're gonna die. So it
Okay.
sort of grows on you and you're a bit like, am I gonna die? And you become a bit paranoid.
Yeah.
But then it didn't happen. So I touch wood, I cross fingers. But but otherwise there are okay countries. The people are nice because when they see that you're a foreigner and you're
Yeah.
white and everything like this, they are like, even sometimes they would be trying to protect you
Okay.
from an non-existent danger, and so they would take you with you.
Okay. So how did you manage
them.
maybe this fear of danger, because everyone was warning you?
Yeah.
How did you react to this?
I think the mostly, so one of the first time, it also happens in France that people will tell you, yeah, it's dangerous, and nothing happens, so you're a bit like, okay, it's fine. And then I went to countries that are deemed extremely dangerous. I went to Iraq, and Iran is a bit less dangerous, I would say, but Iraq people would be like, yeah, no, don't go there. And the fact that in all those countries, even after in El Salvador, Mexico, that kind of places, in all those places, because nothing ever happened, then managing the fear was more easy. Because when people would tell me that, it would be like, okay, same old. You know,
Yeah.
I've been told that before, it didn't happen, it might be the same thing. I
Yeah.
think the most dangerous thing is that I might be now, I'm afraid to become too careless, you know, to be like, okay, they say danger, but there's no danger, but at one point it's going to be, there is a real danger, and I
Yeah.
should trust that person, you know what I mean? So I'm
I
still
do
keeping
understand.
an eye open.
Yeah, no, you definitely should, because I mean, I feel like I have the same problem to
Yeah.
forget
trust
to
everyone.
trust people too much. Yes, and about safety, do you have like stuff you do regularly in all of your trip to stay safe, or like how do you manage your stay
I
safe?
used to be more cautious. I had a pepper spray when I was
Yeah.
going to Iraq, Iran, Turkey, that kind of places.
Yeah.
Also, it's legal there to have the pepper spray, so I had it. I now don't have anything anymore.
Okay.
But I'm still trying to be cautious. Mostly, I try to be in a situation, to stay in situations where if I don't have the physical advantage, at least I am on the same level. So I wouldn't go, I try to not go inside cars with like three people, three guys or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be my safety thing.
yeah, I would understand this one. So, yeah, and what about the mindset you have now with about traveling? When you start a new trip, what is your what do you have in mind? What is driving you?
I think it's the same.
Always the same.
Yeah, it's like usually what I do is that I have a landscape I want to
Yeah.
see, a sort of landscape, and I have a culture that I want to discover and that I'm attracted by, and I want to learn. It's also a lot of time some sort of a geopolitical thing. I'm attracted by understanding better the conflicts and things we hear about and the history of the countries I cross. So yeah, I'm always curious, and I think I stay on the same. I think I still have the same spirit, sort of,
Yeah.
as in
So
the beginning.
curiosity, discovery.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you just said about geopolitical issues, I think it's quite interesting. I mean, we talked about it a few minutes before the interview. Would you like to share maybe some of the experience you had with like places that had some importance in history? Like you know when we talked about we went to Auschwitz, went to places like this.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay, yeah.
you want to
So
share?
yeah, I went to. I did a trip going to Ukraine just before the war started, and yeah, this was actually it was a surprise because my point going there was to learn Russian. So I'm learning Russian and I wanted to practice Russian, which is a bit ironic considering that
Situation right
but
now.
they do speak Russian there, so so I did go there to practice Russian. And on the way, I was trying to find like places of interest, and I realized that it was this part of the world, not only Ukraine, but I went through Poland, Romania. This part of the world was home to a lot of very dark history. So I went in Auschwitz, I went in Chernobyl, I went in Babinia, which is a place that is they call it Holocaust by bullet. So it's a place where 30,000 Jews have been executed,
Oh, yeah.
but by bullet, not gas chamber. I went to the thing that commemorates the Holodomor, which is the genocide by famine.
Like starvation.
Starvation, yeah. So yeah, each time I was trying to find places, it was always that kind of very, very dark places. So it was a very interesting trip, for sure, especially on the history side. But there was a grim.
Yeah, and how did you feel seeing all of this?
I
How did it impact
stayed
you?
with very nice people.
Yeah.
So that was a counterbalance that was nice. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not, in general, I'm okay with that kind of things. Like when there is massacres and things, I don't know, I'm not getting too emotional on those. I always manage to have an outside perspective of it. But it sure is mind-boggling, you know, when you
Yeah.
visit the places where Jews were sleeping in Auschwitz, for example. And yeah, it's like, yeah, a bit weird.
I guess, and I think that also being in Ukraine just 2 months before the war started, it must have also had
Yeah.
a big impact because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were
yeah.
about to live history.
Yeah, yeah. Also, there was this thing where the places I wasn't going to those dark places, but when I wasn't going to those dark places, I was partying with people that I was meeting, especially in Kiev.
Yeah.
I met a lot of very nice people there, and we were going to lots of bars, clubs, and yeah, good life, you know. But 2 months later, they were under the bombs and curfew and everything like this, and you often go after a war to places, like, I don't know, you go to Serbia and,
Yeah.
Not Serbia, Croatia, you know there was a war there, but it's in the past. But the fact after you have been somewhere and suddenly it starts to be a war is the first time it happens to me, it's the only time I think it happens to me. And it was like, yeah, a bit, I wouldn't say complicated, but mind-boggling, you know? Like
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of-
It's hard to have the words for this.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that even we think a lot about it,
yeah.
there is such a strange mix of emotion about it that we should create new words
A
for
new
this.
for that,
Yeah. For sure. And are you still in touch with these people you met in
yeah.
Kiev?
The person in Kiev, I kept in touch a little bit. He's
Yeah.
not too much into social network
Yeah.
or anything like this, but I had some news. He sent me some pictures of him in the, how do you say, the shelter. His dacha, his home out of the city that was
Okay.
completely wrecked, that kind
Yeah.
of things, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's so strange to see the war from so close. I mean, it's
but
like
not be at all a part
yeah,
of it. You know, there is
yeah.
this thing where you are completely foreign to it, but at the same time you do have a connection to it. So, and there is this little guilt of, okay, why would this guy suffer from that and not me? And you know, it's that
Yeah.
kind of things.
And yeah, I do relate. I did a small volunteering at the Polish-Ukrainian border. So I mean, I didn't meet
What,
the
during the war?
Ukrainians. What?
During the war?
Yeah.
Okay.
After like 100 days after the war, so it was
Okay.
a refugee camp. I mean, it's the place where they were welcoming refugees that just crossed the border, and I just spent 5 days there, but it was really impactful to meet the few volunteers who went to Ukraine and who showed me pictures of the country. And you're like just one picture away from the war, and it's so strange. And I think that it probably impacted a bit my my relationship with reality, as before, when we were in high school, we used, when you watch a movie, you talk about war, but almost as a fictional thing. And when you are that close to an actual war, it becomes so real. And
It's
it
like
was,
one step away. Sort of.
yeah. Did it impact your vision of the world to be
My
that
vision
close?
of the world?
Or I mean, your vision of life or your relations with
I wouldn't
reality?
say so, because at the same time, it wasn't new. I would say that I'd realize it at this moment, but it wasn't a new information also.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. Also, I had been before. I was in Iraq during the war against ISIS, And there were lots of, I met lots of refugees, and I became
Okay.
friends with a lot of people from refugees, Yazidi particularly. And so yeah, I've been in touch with that before,
Okay.
and yeah.
Yeah, I guess that you had it quite earlier then.
Yeah, than this one. But it wasn't after, that's the thing. It was not like, when I went to Iraq, it was already a subject of war since
Yeah.
a long
Since
time.
Yeah.
Whereas in Ukraine, there was this thing where it was peaceful, and then it wasn't peaceful anymore.
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to ask you about, like, did you meet people back there in Iraq that marked you? Do you have memories
Yeah.
of people? Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I think this trip it wasn't my first trip at all. I had been hitchhiking for 10 years before this one. But there was something about this trip that made it feel the first.
Yeah.
The thing is, it was the first trip after I stopped having a house, having a home. So it's sort of my first, now I don't have a house trip, you know. And so yeah, I do remember a lot of, I remember it a lot, and the people that I met in this trip, a lot of them I've met them in other places in the world, like in the USA, in Canada, in like people from Iraq that went away from Iraq,
Yeah.
or also all the travelers.
Like they had to flee from Iraq to.
I wouldn't say flee, because they were in Kurdistan. I went only
Yeah.
in Kurdistan, which wasn't as bad as what we call Arab Iraq. And but they wanted to flee not for war reason, but mostly for good life reason,
Okay.
you know, which is a perfectly valid point in my opinion.
Yeah, I can understand it. I feel like we have a theme that you just started to evoke. It is the theme of having a home. I remember that we talked about it, I'm sure, the first time we met. I
Okay.
think we had something like this. How would you describe your relationship with having a home today? Because you're always on the road, a lot on the road. How did traveling make this evolve, and what would be your definition of home today?
I have one actually.
Yeah.
So I think I was never, when I grew up, between my mother's room, this is weird, but between my mother's room and my room, there was no door. So there was always this thing where privacy has never been such a thing for me. So it wasn't that hard to go to, I don't have a home, you know. It wasn't so complicated for me. And I've had a teddy bear since I'm 3 months old, and I haven't dropped it or anything. And I consider it to be like the soul of my bag, sort of. In my bag is very well crafted. There are lots, like everything is well thought, and everything is useful. And the only thing that is not useful is this teddy bear. It has no function. And for me, this is the place this teddy bear is. This is my home.
Okay.
This is how I picture it.
I just love this definition. So we should advise people to travel with a teddy bear.
That teddy bear, yeah.
More useful than what you would think.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty nice definition. Well, I think that we had an amazing overview for, about all the countries you traveled, and
That's not all of it.
yeah, I know. You have 10 years,
Yeah.
10 years with you. Maybe we didn't talk that much about people that you met. Maybe encounters that really impacted you. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, there are very different impacts. Like there are people that became friends and that I traveled with. There are people that I had one very funny meeting. I became sort of an escort boy in Dubai
Okay.
with a rich Russian girl that I met hitchhiking in Iran.
Okay.
That was a very funny one. That's really marked me for sure. So yeah, I ended up in a 5-star hotel and everything like that. That was crazy. Lots of very, very nice people. Some bad people. I also remember some people that wanted to pay me for sex.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't dangerous, but just a bit like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And I would go out of the car.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember a lot of people that were very, I don't know, like an encounter that in the USA I stayed 6 hours with one guy, but they flew by very fast because our conversation was so great. We had lots of common points. He was deep into plants. He considered that plants had a life.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really the way he was. I'm not too much into that kind of. I'm more like, I'm kind of how do you say, down to earth.
Yeah.
But I don't know, his relationship with plants. He told me they would speak to him or something like this.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that's funny. He gave me a plant that you take it and your dreams are more vivid. So it was funny. It was disgusting to eat, but it was funny. Yeah. I don't know. I remember also in Iraq there were people that were soldiers, and they were showing me pictures of them posing like this next to corpses, like piles of corpses, and they were giving me all those we killed ISIS there, and I was like, okay, this is ISIS, but still this is a pile of corpses.
Yeah.
I think in my trips the people that I remember the most were actually more the people that hosted me rather than just the people that took me hitchhiking.
Yeah.
Hitchhiking, it's rare that it would go more than 1 hour, so you have less time with them. So obviously some people did mark me, but the people that I spent the night or even several days with, they did mark me more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what would mark me in hitchhiking would be the fact that I'm able to have many different people and some, in a way, have a sort of sociological panel, you know. I have some sort of, I don't know, like random people, and I can have access to random people that I would never have access to. So sometimes the people that marked me are, for example, there was this guy, he was working in the SNCF, and he was building, he was on a project that was, it's a train that when it goes, it takes the rails and it puts other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this guy marked me because there was this thing of, okay, so this is the inside of the train. And a lot of time, another guy that marked me for some reason is, his job was to manage big metal cube, I don't know if you say that,
like,
the thing that you put milk in.
Okay.
But massive ones for like production, milk production thing.
Yeah.
And same thing, I was like, okay, so this is the inside of the milk thing, you know. And often it sort of, it goes with the geopolitical interest. It really interests me to have access to those people that shared with me some very random thing that I would never have a grasp on. That are very basic, but at the same time.
Yeah, it feels like having an extra trip in the trip. Discovering something more. But I agree to say with you that the people who host us are, the exchanges are sometimes more personal. I think that people hosting me would more easily share stuff from their personal lives, and maybe
you are inside their home also.
Yeah.
So,
this is more intimate for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But so for the hitchhiking, I think I have many people that I could come up with like 1,000 different stories, but I don't have that much very impactful.
So I think that actually hospitality is also a very interesting subject. How do you get to be hosted by people?
So mostly it's through couchsurfing.
Yeah.
Very mostly it's through couchsurfing. If I going to a country where I don't know people, is through couchsurfing. But it could also be through relationships, like friends of friends and things like this, or even people that I meet in the country. Rarely, but it did happen to me. I asked people in the street, like, can I sleep at your place? And sometimes it worked. Mostly it didn't work.
What was your experience with that, the asking directly?
So it worked really easily. The first asking we did in Berlin, we were two of us. and we asked the people, yeah, can we sleep at your place? And they said yes. So that was like, okay. Then we did again in Madrid, didn't work at all. So yeah, it really can vary. And sometimes hitchhiking also, I could remember also several times where the people that took me hitchhiking, I ended up sleeping at their place. Sometimes asking myself, sometimes they would offer, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sunset car.
Yeah. One strategy that I would have, it's kind of a sneaky strategy, but I would be in a city and instead of asking directly in the city, I would hitchhike to go out of the city. So in case it doesn't work, I'm out of the city and I can camp. Mm-hmm. But on the way out, I would tell the person very like, oh, I'm going out to sleep outside because I don't have anywhere to sleep. I would love a couch, but you know, I'm going outside and you're bringing me outside. And it works. It does work, yeah. Like, it worked like several times.
Where did you do this?
I did that in Nice, I did that in Toulouse. So yeah, it did work sometimes.
Okay, this is a pretty nice concept. I want to try it now. Okay. I think that, I mean, you start to give advice, maybe we should switch to the part where you give, I mean, if you were meeting someone, like a young person, let's say, who tells you that they would like to try hitchhiking for the first time, what would you suggest them? What would be your advice for them?
Well, first they could try my, I have a conference online where I give tips on hitchhiking, so I would advise them to look at that.
We'll put link in the description.
But yeah, it's a like 50 minutes tutorial, so I think it's quite good, but you know. And but I think the main advice would be like the way you approach the hitchhiking itself. You have to feel legitimate to do it. A lot of people, when they start, they don't feel legitimate to ask. They are very like asking for pity, sort of. They go and they're like, oh, please, if you can, maybe, I wouldn't want to disturb you, but if you could, you know, something like very sort of mushy.
Yeah.
And my mindset is more like, they would be very lucky to have me in their car. And this is kind of cocky, but this is sort of a better way to get, and actually it works better, and it's not that false. And I'm also lucky if I manage to, if I can speak with them. You know, it's always lucky to be able to speak together. So yeah, a lot of times, some people, they would in the beginning be sort of like, okay, you can come, but you could feel that they weren't very happy to have me. And then at the end, they were so happy, and they would like take my number and everything like this, and we would be friends, and the ride was so good and everything like this, that now I feel completely fine asking people, and I feel that I'm completely legitimate to do it. I think my parents, they never were too much like, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, or it's bad to do this. So I always, this kind of legitimacy, I've always felt I was legitimate to do it. I was always like, yeah, I started when I was 16, had no cash at all, so I was like, yeah, come on, you have a place in your car, just take me, this is normal, you know? And I also feel for me that it would be normal when I have a car to stop and take someone, you know?
Okay.
And whenever I have my own places, when I rent places, I always host like lots of people from couch surfing or something like this. So for me, it's just a normal thing. So this is why I feel very legitimate also.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Well, do you have any extra advice, or do you want
extra advice?
Like,
yeah, but follow this channel.
thank you a lot. This is a good one. Well, I think that
subscribe.
Leave a thumb up on this interview, share with your friends. Great. Well, I think that now we can actually switch to the signature question of the interviews.
Okay.
So, if you want to, with just a few words, what should be your definition of adventure?
Adventure. Well, I have not thought about that before, but from the top of my head, just if you don't know what will happen in the next like 2 or 3 days, like 2 days from this day, if you don't know where you're going to be, what you're going to see, with whom, I think it's already sort of an adventure.
Yeah, Pretty good.
Seems all right.
Yeah.
What is yours? I'm curious.
Actually, I keep asking the question,
Okay.
and if I should answer to you right now, maybe there is something about like listening to your gut, like to your inner compass, and just following it,
Yeah.
despite not knowing what will happen. I think that there is always the thing of not knowing what will
Yeah.
happen, and I would add this thing of following your
I think
guts.
this is the sense of safety, basically. Like, if you get rid of the sense of safety, this is already an adventure.
Yeah, maybe. For sure, it's there is a link with it for sure. Okay. Well, before we end the interview, would you have any recommendation? Maybe a book or a movie or a podcast that inspired you that you'd like to share,
About hitchhiking specifically?
or something else? I mean, everybody's quoting Into the Wild, so
Yeah, okay. There was this book, I don't know why, but in my mind it's sort of related, but at the same time no, but yes it is. There's this book, it's by David Graeber, which is this anarchist anthropologist. He's quite famous for writing bullshit jobs.
yeah, I know this one. Yes.
And his most recent book and last book, because he died just before releasing that book, it's called, in French, in the beginning it was, in French it's Au commencement était, une autre histoire de l'humanité, quelque chose comme ça.
Okay.
In English it must be something like, in the beginning there was another story of mankind, maybe something like this. And it is not an answer to the book Sapiens by Noël
Yuval
Harari.
Harari, yeah.
But they do speak about it in the book a little bit, and I found it quite really amazing, this book, because the book Sapiens, I was really like kind of troubled in a way. There is this sense of everything follows a path. In Sapiens. You go from hunter-gatherer all the way up to the empire, basically, and there is no alternative, sort of. And in David Graeber, with another guy called David Rengro, and it's a big book, and they do this massive work about finding out variations of the way people would live in the Neolithic Revolution, so the from hunter-gatherer to cities, and they managed to show that there are so many different ways of living. And it's not just only like this path, you know. There are like big tribes of hunter-gatherer. There are people that do a little bit hunter-gathering and a little bit of growing crops. There are big cities without any leader or whatever. There are lots of different alternative way of living that have been experimented in the past by humans. And I feel like, in a sense, hitchhiking is also something like this, you know. It's like this book really opened me to the fact that you can organize humanity in so many various ways. You can do so many different manner of living, and hitchhiking is also a thing that showed me that you could live differently, sort of.
Yeah, well.
So yeah, that's a long answer, but
Yeah, but I think that it opens to the interview to such a great topic about living differently. So I will meditate about it and probably have.
And you should read this book; it's amazing.
I will have a look, I think.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any? Well, we have football stars here. Do you have any place where we can follow your adventures, or like some blogs, or?
I have in Instagram. Actually, it's peculiar because it's not really. I think I might post about. Sometimes I post about travels, but it's mostly because I do a digital comic book.
Yeah.
So you can follow me on this. The name is Nils.
Yeah, I will write it.
Yeah, you write it. But yeah, I do this digital comic book, and it's heavily inspired, amongst other things, by my travels. So it's sort of the way to follow me.
Yeah.
And I just recently started to post it 10 days ago.
Okay.
And so now I'm posting serially, you know. So it's getting out. So you should follow me.
Yeah.
It's good, I think. There is videos, images, music. It's kind of
Great then.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put the link here.
Cool.
And yeah, it's so that we didn't talk a lot about creation and trips, but you just said it. Traveling all around the world did feed a lot your art, I guess.
Oh
and
yeah, for
it's,
sure. Yeah, I do graphic art, so of course seeing things. I've always been about seeing things. My big. I've heard someone saying that people travel for either one thing or the other, mostly either the people travel for the people or for the landscapes. I would say that I'm more for the landscape. My aim is to go to a landscape and on the way to meet people.
Yeah.
And this is how I travel. But yeah, seeing all those landscapes, seeing all those different, I don't know, even fashion or everything like this, for sure nourished my
Creations.
art creation. Yeah.
That's I mean, if there are any artists that are listening to us, I mean, that they will be interested by what you do and probably inspired by what you just said.
And I would also add that it's not only graphical, like even if you are a writer or something like this, living, I don't know if I call them adventures, but living somehow adventurous things for sure makes your creativity bump up.
For sure. Well, do you have, by the way, any new next travel projects, next adventures programs?
I have a lot of them. I don't have plans, like I don't know when I don't know when, but I think my next trip will be to Arabian Peninsula. I want to go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Because they do all those kind of weird megalomaniac projects, and I want to see that. I want to understand what are they doing. So I want to go there. Also, I've started to learn Russian because I wanted to go to Central Asia. I was speaking about landscape earlier, and those landscapes in Central Asia, they appeal to me. I really want to go there and to lose myself in there. And yeah, I want to go there. China attracts me so much. It's an empire with so much history, and it's also geopolitically, it's very interesting nowadays, especially nowadays.
Well, a lot of beautiful projects.
Yeah.
I hope that you...
So many. Central Asia, I want to go everywhere. No, I don't want to go everywhere, but there are many places that I'm attracted to, for sure.
Okay. Well, that's. I hope that you will get there, and that we will see some what you will create thanks to all of these new adventures. Well, thanks a lot for the interview, for sharing all of this, and it was a pleasure to hear more from you. So, well, thanks a lot, and see you on the road then.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for inviting me. That was really great.
Thanks a lot, Nils.